What is up? GoodMicWork back at you again. You know what you guys need to start doing? You know how every time I do a commentary and I'm always like, this will be the last video until next week or until my Raw review or whatever? Just fucking ignore that. From now on, don't believe a word I say. Anytime I say you're not going to hear from me for a few days, just know that I'm full of shit and I'm probably going to be up here within 48 hours. Because the wrestling business always throws a monkey wrench in my plans, and this one is huge. I'm sorry it's taken me 2 days to come up after this story has broke, but I wanted to come up and give you guys a few thoughts on the stunning developments involving Brock Lesnar, and also let you know what you can expect in the next couple of days on this channel. We have got a lot going on with all this Brock Lesnar news and so much up in the air. So many unknowns as it relates to Brock and the WWE and the draft and even his match at SummerSlam with Randy Orton. There's so many questions to be answered. Plus we have the WWE draft, what is supposed to be a big day in WWE's history, coming up on Tuesday. We got a WWE title match on Monday. There's all sorts of stuff going on. So I'll get into what you can expect from me in the next couple of days here at the end of this video. But first, let's just touch on Brock Lesnar. Not too much has really been revealed since this story broke. I was not able to come up and do a quick video on it right away. Plus, we have no details really, and I thought if I waited a day or two, maybe we would know a little bit more, but we really don't. For those of you who don't know, Brock Lesnar, of course, was flagged, or potentially flagged, and notified that he might have failed a drug test by the USADA. The sample was taken, I think, on June 28th, about a week or two before his big UFC fight with Mark Hunt, and this really, really, really sucks. I'm extremely disappointed because as a wrestling fan, I have been welling with pride ever since UFC 200. To know that one of our guys have gone over there and dominated a sport where a lot of the fans look down on wrestling, to me, really made me feel good. And I was like, you know what? Brock is not to be trifled with. Don't take this guy lightly. He's not some fake pro wrestler. He is an ass-kicking machine. And there's a really good chance this guy could win the UFC title again. So after he goes in there and pretty handily defeats Mark Hunt, you know, you think we're on top of the world. Brock Lesnar has never failed a drug test before. We've never associated Brock with drugs or PEDs or anything like that. So when this story came out, it was surprising. Now, there's so many questions that need to be answered here. First of all, we have no idea what he took. The only thing that we can really rule out is that it was any recreational drugs. If it was marijuana, if it was cocaine, if it was anything like that, we would know, and some of that stuff isn't even, for out-of-competition tests, wouldn't even matter or whatever. So this was definitely a performance-enhancing drug of some kind, some sort of a supplement. I really want to give Brock the benefit of the doubt here. Unfortunately, anytime something like this comes out about somebody, they're very rarely redeemed. There's not been too many occasions where in any sport, baseball, football, anywhere where performance-enhancing drugs exist, you've never heard of somebody get caught with something and then get completely exonerated. So what I'm hoping is that Brock maybe just unknowingly took something. I mean, since Brock has never had these issues before and he's never failed a drug test, you know, in any other time in his life, you would have to think that maybe during his intense training, which I'm sure he went through hell training for that fight with Mark Hunt. I mean, he took the match 1 month in advance, so you know his training regimen was probably insane. On top of that, he had to make weight. He had to be under 265 pounds or whatever the hell the heavyweight weight limit is there in UFC, so he probably had to get himself in shape for that, plus train. He was probably taking a ton of supplements, and you know, there's so many things that are on the ban list what you can and cannot take. He may have unknowingly taken something, and if that's the case, then, you know, to me, that's just shit that happens. If you unknowingly did it, yes, you did it, but, you know, Brock wasn't purposely going out there to cheat. He has too much to lose. He made like $5 or $6 million from that fight. He's making just about the same amount of money from the WWE. He's got one of the sweetest deals in the world. Why in the world would this guy need to cheat? To me, it doesn't add up. I just don't view Brock Lesnar as somebody that would purposely go out there and risk everything. Risk money, risk reputation, and all of that stuff just to get a little bit of an edge against a guy that he probably would have been able to defeat regardless of whether or not he was on PEDs or not. So the whole thing to me sounds like it might have been a mistake, but it doesn't matter at this point. It's already tarnished now. You know, I know he's probably going to appeal, and I don't know a lot of the rules and regulations as it pertains to athletic commissions and drug testing and things like that. It still has to be confirmed that this actually was a violation. It still has to be confirmed what he exactly took or what supplement or what substance was found in his system that was on the ban list of the USADA. So it could be anything. It could be something very, very minor and that was in just a very small amount but still wound up on the ban list. It could also be something like I said, that Brock took unknowingly. It could have been a tainted supplement of some kind. And the other option is that Brock knowingly took it. But to me, Brock just doesn't come off that way. Like I said, there's too much at risk. It's not like he's a young, up-and-coming fighter trying to prove himself. Maybe you can be tempted to cheat in situations like that because you're trying to make it. Brock is on top of the world. What other extra edge could he possibly need? And to me, Brock is not a stupid person, and it would simply not be worth the risk of everything he could lose as far as how he's viewed by the public, and like I said, all the money that he could potentially lose with something like this, being fined or being suspended or even being out of matches in UFC and WWE. So this just disappoints me on so many levels because of how important Brock has been to not only MMA but WWE. When he came back in 2012, nobody in the WWE's history really has been pushed like this guy. After he initially came back and had that show of good faith by putting over John Cena at Extreme Rules, and I think he had to lose to Triple H once too, even though he won the other matches. The guy has been pretty much unstoppable, and he ended The Undertaker's undefeated WrestleMania streak, of course. So if this is potentially true, to me it puts an asterisk by all of that. It tarnishes it a little bit, and I have never been more disappointed than I am right now. I'm pissed off. And look at what this could do with WWE. The Nevada State Athletic Commission could wind up suspending Brock Lesnar. New York also has an athletic commission, which is where SummerSlam is held. If the New York State Athletic Commission chose to suspend Brock Lesnar, he could be screwed and be out of his SummerSlam match with Randy Orton. WWE also now needs to think about whether or not to suspend him, because everybody's going to be screaming for them to put this guy on the shelf for 30 days after what we saw with Roman Reigns and the situation with Billy Gunn not long ago. He was let go from the WWE for a non-WWE drug violation. And a lot of people are saying, well, if Billy Gunn was let go, something's got to happen to Brock. The funny thing is what good would a suspension do? That's not teaching Brock any sort of a lesson. That's not a punishment. The only way it's a punishment, potentially, is if he misses his SummerSlam match, and that's going to cost him a lot of money. But if you suspend him tomorrow for 30 days, he can be back before the SummerSlam match even happens. And how crazy would that be? Your WrestleMania 31 main event is suspended? Fuck me. And the timing of this couldn't be worse. We've got the second biggest pay-per-view of the year coming up next month, and we have the brand extension and SmackDown going live and moving to Tuesday nights starting in like 3 days from now. So there's a ton of shit going on, and I think we all have a lack of faith as it is in WWE as far as how they write things and how they're going to potentially book and handle this brand split. We're hoping it works, but there's a really good chance that WWE just fucks this whole thing up. So the last thing that they need right now is monkey wrenches being thrown into their plans. First, it happened with Roman Reigns when he got popped and they had to take the belt off of him and go in a completely different direction and potentially rethink his status in the company, where he might land in the brand extension, when or if he'll ever win that title back, when they were probably going to keep it on him for the next few months. They're trying to work out this brand extension and move SmackDown to a new night and go live and all this stuff, and Roman Reigns pulls this shit and, throws a wrench in the creative team's plans. They're already under enough pressure, and they're already idiots as it is. Don't make this shit worse. And now Brock Lesnar gets nailed, and he could potentially be suspended, and think of the scrambling that must be going on. The creative team and what they do with Brock creatively cannot move forward until they decide what they're going to do, until they find out more information. Brock Lesnar can go through appeals, and this shit could drag out for a while too, so who knows. So WWE has got to make some quick decisions here in the next 24 to 48 hours if they get any new information of, okay, what do we do? Do we suspend Brock? Where do we draft him? Where do we put him? Are we going to have this match with Randy Orton at SummerSlam or not? We got a pay-per-view this Sunday, for fuck's sake, Battleground coming up, so the WWE's got a lot going on and a lot on their plate. And, it's a horrible situation for WWE and for wrestling fans. We could potentially suffer from this because WWE now might have to make some creative decisions on the fly without any long-term planning because of what has gone on with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, and that could negatively affect the product, especially if some of the decisions they make in hindsight down the road turn out to be the wrong ones. So this is just this is devastating news. I'm really bummed out about it. I try to remain positive in all situations, so I'm hoping that on Monday night we get a great Monday Night Raw, a great title match, possibly a title change maybe, to take our minds off of everything that's going on behind the scenes. That might be a nice idea for the WWE to do something like that. And of course the draft on Tuesday should be a really big deal. Brock Lesnar, I thought, was going to appear on the draft SmackDown. Who knows if that's going to happen now? I doubt it. And then we got Battleground coming up here in 1 week. So, shit's a mess right now. So let's get through this nonsense together. Tomorrow night, after Monday Night Raw, like I said, a few hours after the show, check my YouTube channel. I will have a reaction video to Monday Night Raw. I don't know if it'll be a complete, detailed, match-by-match review, or if I'll just generally talk about the show. We'll wait and see how exciting the show is, and if we have a title change or not. And also, I'm very curious to see, and it's quite possible that they acknowledge the Brock Lesnar situation. Look what happened with Roman Reigns. They didn't try to hide it. They brought it right out on Monday Night Raw and turned it into a storyline. So maybe they can work that in somehow, and I think I would appreciate that a little bit more as a fan than if they just ignored the whole thing. So it'll be interesting to see on Monday if WWE makes any decisions or makes any announcements, and it'll be really interesting to see what they do and say about Brock on Monday Night Raw. And then the very next night on SmackDown, I, of course, will thoroughly review that show and the draft and where everybody wound up, who I think has the better roster, where I think they're going to go creatively in the future, and I will predict Battleground as well. So you got a lot of content coming from me in the next couple of days, and by the way, I will be home for both shows. If you want to join me on Twitter, at GoodMicWork, I will be live tweeting during Raw, giving some reactions, and I will also be live tweeting during SmackDown and the WWE Draft. I did not think I was going to be home, but I made arrangements. That's something I rarely do, aside from making sure I'm home on pay-per-view nights and stuff like that. So needless to say, it's going to be a pretty crazy next 72 hours, so stay tuned to GoodMicWorkCommentaries.com, the YouTube channel, follow me on Twitter at GoodMicWork, like my Facebook page, and also send any questions you might have for my future Q&A to GoodMicWork@gmail.com. Let me know all your opinions down below and on social media, and I will talk to you tomorrow night. Until then, peace.